Hi, this is John with Performance Plus Tennis. In today's serve lesson, we're going to focus on the racket drop, which is a question I get very, very frequently. And also because I see a lot of videos, I also see how much tennis players are struggling with getting a racket drop. So we're going to talk about the racket drop, what it is, why you need it, how to get it in today's lesson. So first of all, let's just cover what the racket drop is and what its purpose is on the serve. And the racket drop is literally that. It's where you're at the stage in the serve where the racket drops to its lowest point before it begins to rise to the contact point. And it's really important that the pattern of that racket drop is correct, and it's got the right type of movement and the right type of feel. And one of the biggest problems that recreational players have is, first of all, starting with a forehand grip. If you're serving with a forehand grip, it's going to immediately take the racket drop out because you can only go about this far, and you're into what we call the frying pan or the waiter's tray position. So the forehand grip greatly limits the amount of racket drop you're going to get. And that's one of the most common problems I see. So we need to work on making sure you get over to a continental grip. That is discussed and presented in the playlist here on the channel, so go look for that and make sure that you understand how to get to a continental grip and what the benefits are. So once you have a continental grip and you get into a position that's really like a throwing position, so I'm literally going to take the racket out of my hand, I'm going to put a ball in my hand. This is exactly where I would throw a ball from. And that would be the ideal position with a continental grip, where I'd be on my serve before I enter into the swing and the racket drop itself. So I get to this stage here, and instead of having the racket fall backwards so that it takes a straight line to the ball, I want the racket to naturally just fall in as my body rotates. And we're going to get into the details of that. But the racket drop ideally is going to fall to its lowest point, and you want this to be nice and relaxed and supple so that you can get more length. So the lower this gets, the more length it has to rise to the ball. Theoretically, the more racket head speed you can develop and pick up. So if your racket drop, and I see this all the time where the racket drop only goes as low as the head, and it's right here, how are you going to generate any racket head speed? So we got to make sure that the racket gets a nice drop in it. And what allows the racket to drop is a relaxed arm and a nice range of motion. And you can see where the elbow is actually a little bit higher than my hand. So I've got to have a lot of mobility here in my elbow as well as in my shoulder, so I can get in this position where the elbow is rising and it actually gets almost even with, or even ideally, the elbow is higher than the hand. Now for some of us that's really difficult to do, and I've watched my serve quite a bit. I actually do not get my hand lower than my elbow, but I get it to the point where it's in a natural position for me, and I get the lowest racket drop that works for me. So, but for everyone, we have that optimal place we want to get to, and we're going to work on drills and exercises that are going to help you get there. So one of the big inhibitors to getting a good racket drop after the grip is really tension. So we have to make sure that we're very supple and very relaxed. So one of the ways to really relate to that is just simply by throwing the ball. So when we throw a ball, we really don't introduce tension in our arm. Our arm just feels like a whip that follows the body. So the more you can feel like your arm is just loose, that's going to help your motion quite a bit. And if I just take the feeling, that lack of tension, and I just feel like I'm going to throw my racket, but I'm not going to, it just went through a nice racket drop. But you know what's amazing about that? Is that I don't want you to try to make a racket drop. It will go by itself. And I think that's the key takeaway from this lesson, is that in order to make a good racket drop, you have to be loose and relaxed. Ideally, you're going to have the proper grip. But then you can't think about it. You can't go, oh my gosh, John, get a racket drop and put your racket down your back. Because what happens is you deplete the swing of the natural rhythm that you're trying to create that produces racket head speed. So again, I'm going to go back to the idea of throwing a ball. When I throw a ball, put my racket down here, when I throw a ball, I put my hand in this position, but this does not really move anywhere until I push with my legs, and in this case I'm going to pull my left hand away to trigger this shoulder rotation. And when I do that and my arm is relaxed, it just lags behind the body and then catches up. Lags behind, catches up. And that's literally how a quarterback throws a football, or a baseball player throws a baseball. It's literally that mechanical or biomechanical movement that you need to get in there. So once you've practiced the skill of throwing the ball and you've got that throwing action in there, now just pick up your racket and just imagine it's a ball, but don't release it. And just sit there and just feel like you're going to relax, let it lag behind, and release, throw. And feel like the arm is just following the body. And what you're going to discover is that you don't need to try to make a racket drop. And if you make the proper movement with your serve, the racket can only fall and rise by itself. And what that means is, again, if I'm in that position where the racket's in that throwing position and I push with my legs and pull my left hand away and the shoulders rotate around, the racket will go down as the hand rotates back and it'll go. So that will really help you quite a bit to develop that easy racket drop. And then what I really recommend you do is film it, okay? Film it and take a look at it and see if you're really getting that racket drop in practice. I've had a lot of students who can actually execute a good racket drop in front of the camera without a ball. So you need to get that feeling first. And then one other thing really quick, if you feel like you're lacking mobility, just a simple stretch, you're here, just reach down and grab your racket and get this stretch in here. Just kind of pull it down gently to feel like you know you can get that range of motion in there where I can look back and see my elbows higher than my hand. And then when I throw it, I feel like I just picked up a few degrees of range of motion. So make sure you're loosening up your shoulders. Do this particular stretch. That is going to help your racket drop as well. The other fascinating thing about the motion and the racket drop is how little the hand really moves from the set position to the racket drop. Watch, where the hand is here. Watch where it is now. It doesn't really move that much. Look how it just goes from here to there. See that? So a lot of tennis players are trying to make that swing. And so what we see is what we call breaking the plane, where what we'll do is we'll try to make that racket drop and our racket will actually be visible on the left side of my body being a right-handed player. This is called breaking the plane of our body. What I've done here is I've tried to enter into my swing to make a motion, but my body hasn't gone anywhere yet. And you even see this on the tour with a couple of players, which is unbelievably true. Hard to believe it's true, but there are numerous players. I can think of one on ATP Tour and I can think of a couple on the WTA that actually do this right now, But that means that their body didn't move to trigger the swing. So ideally, from this angle, here from a side view, you'll never see my racket on this side. Watch where the racket goes. It's literally on the right side of me now, right here. It just falls right behind me. Look at that. It just falls right behind me. And that's the perfect motion. So again, if you get out and film yourself and you find that your racket is getting over here and visible on the left side of your body, then you know that you're actually breaking the plane by starting your swing. And your hand is moving so much further. Look how much more my hand is moving to create this swing, and now everything's out of sync. So think about keeping it really simple. Look how the right hand's the hands are on the right side of me, and it just goes by itself. And that is the ideal swing motion that's going to make your serve so natural, so easy, and you're going to find that racket drop without even thinking about it. Thanks so much for watching today's lesson, and I hope you can improve your racket drop without really thinking about it. Instead, work on the principles and concepts that are going to improve that racket drop. Proper grip, throwing motion, and relaxation. And then film it to see if you're actually getting the movement pattern you're looking for. Avoid breaking the plane, avoid starting your swing before your body moves. Think about throwing your racket at the ball, and that'll make it so much more natural. Please leave your comments down below. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. And if you're interested, I am offering a limited number of serve assessments. All you got to do is click on the link in the description down below, submit that form. I'll get right back to you with instructions on how to submit your video to me. I'll take a look at it and give you my professional opinion on how you can improve your serve. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next lesson.